Okay, so I'm really doing my best to not let this slowly become a wrestling channel. But sometimes I just feel things about wrestling and I need to talk about them. And today I want to talk about one of the more disappointing things to happening in wrestling ever. And this is going to take a little bit of a explanation, especially for those of you who do not keep up with wrestling. Shockingly, WWE have disappointed me yet again, namely in the recent cutting massacre that has happened every year after WrestleMania. WWE let go of a bunch of talent, despite the fact that the promotion claims to never be more popular. I've seen people say that, they're a company, that they exist for profit, and that what are they meant to do? Hold on to assets that aren't serving them. And to those people, I say, go fuck yourself. Some of the recent releases include Kairi Sane, which is absolutely fucking insane. She is one of the coolest, most charismatic, best in ring workers in the entire company. She has limitless upside potential, and by letting her go, you are basically opening yourself up to her going to AEW and being an absolute fucking smash hit over there. Another one is Aleister Black, which just breaks my heart as well. I genuinely loved Aleister Black's run in AEW as Malachi Black in the House of Black. I never understood why we didn't pull the trigger on him and insert him into the main event scene. He's more than ready. He's great on the mic. He's great in the ring. He's got amazing charisma. Go watch fucking Aleister or Malachi Black's entrance in AEW and tell me that's not a main event level star. But no, I'm actually not here to talk about either of those. What I am here to talk about is the release of the Wyatt 6. And oh my god, this breaks my heart. And the reasons for that are a little complicated. Some of you might have seen me talk about Bray Wyatt before. I was a huge Bray Wyatt fan while he was alive, and obviously after he's dead, I have limitless appreciation for what that dude did in wrestling. He came in an era where so much felt quite samey. The Shield hadn't properly taken hold yet. We were still in the very much ruthless aggression era, which was just never my favorite era of wrestling. And he brought so much of the spark and the creativity back in wrestling. And he had this really interesting trajectory through WWE, starting off as Husky Harris, which is a fucking Vince McMahon gimmick if ever I did hear one. His gimmick being that he was a little round. Fucking book him for Mania. And watching him be a background character in the NXT invasion takeover angle, it was whatever. He was a forgettable part of it. But then there was one episode, and I don't recall if it was SmackDown or Raw, and he ends up cutting a promo about his cowboy boots. And I'm not gonna say it's the world's greatest promo, but there's fucking something. And right at the end, he has this line, is when I put these cowboy boots on, I become the devil. And it wasn't great. It was nothing compared to what he would do later in his career. But there was something to it. This is one of those moments where, and you might hear me say this a lot about younger wrestlers, this guy is great, this guy is good, can't wait to see him in 4 years. Can't wait to see when he actually hits his full potential, because he's not there now, but he's in the process of getting there. Kyle Fletcher. That was a kind of moment with Husky Harris where people kind of looked up and they're like, what? Why is this poor child saddled with this awful gimmick making me feel something? Well, it turns out that Rotunda would make me feel many things, and particularly when he started as the creepy swamp cult leader Bray Wyatt. If you want to see me talk about Bray Wyatt, I have done so both in my Villains of Wrestling video as well as my Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns Finish the Story video. He basically descended onto WWE with his Outback Boys, and he became the most charismatic, fascinating thing you ever fucking saw. The sheep mask, the creepy child choirs, the incredible matches, they were brilliant. It was genuinely, it was a side of wrestling that I hadn't really experienced, a spark and a creativity I hadn't felt since the Attitude Era. At some point I will talk properly about the Attitude Era. The Attitude Era was a time of terrible wrestling but also unrestrained creativity, and even though the match quality kind of sucked a lot of the time, there was something brilliant about it. And when I saw the Wyatt family and like how they were packaged, their promos, their videos, everything, it just made me kind of believe in wrestling again. Wyatt becomes bigger and bigger. He never quite takes his place in WWE the way he should. He absolutely becomes like a main event level guy. It's not about that. But there was real potential to do something with him. But it felt like whenever he was on the verge of it becoming like a real, genuine star, it's like he would just always get yanked back at the final moment. But like there was amazing moments. I talked about the Shield versus the Wyatt family. My favorite 6-man tag match of all time. Absolutely fucking astonishing levels of psychology and like what these two factions mean to each other, what these characters mean. Because like the Shield were a team, they were a friendship, they were a brotherhood. The Wyatt family were something fucking else. They were a Cthulhu beast. They were a congealed monster serving the one consciousness, and it was just brilliant. It was just brilliant. It turns me into the kind of slathering idiot you all just witnessed. But eventually, like, the Wyatt family runs its course. There's a lot of like starting and stopping. There's a really strange match where Bray Wyatt possesses a haunted tractor and attacks Randy Orton. I know it sounds like I'm joking. I am not. And, you know, he kind of just loses momentum and he sort of disappears from the Federation for a long time. And then he comes back as The Fiend. I don't want to say The Fiend is my favorite gimmick of all time, but he might be. You know the way Simon Miller says goofy wrestling for life? Well, I don't subscribe to that. No offense to Simon. I love Simon. I hope he's doing well. I'm all about spooky wrestling for life. I love spooky wrestlers. Bray Wyatt, Undertaker. Look, I know there's a problematic element to this character, and I see that, and I don't... I thought Papa Shango was really fucking cool. Okay? I thought he was really fucking cool. I was like 7 years old, and I saw Papa Shango, and I was like, that's the coolest motherfucker I've ever seen in my life. That's right. As an 8-year-old, I said motherfucker. Because I've always been real! But yeah, I love The Fiend. I've always been very close to making a Super Eyepatch Wolf main channel video on Bray Wyatt and The Fiend. And I have mixed feelings about WWE. I'm still thinking about it. I think maybe I'm better off putting my wrestling energy into other promotions right now. But The Fiend was just a phenomenal thing. Everything I said about like Bray Wyatt as like, you know, the cult leader and this person who made me fall back in love with wrestling, pandemic era wrestling was saved for me by The Fiend. And if you've never seen him, he was this like creepy children's show TV host. And I was watching these vignettes being like, this is the fucking weirdest thing I've ever seen. And I was like showing it to my like non-wrestling friends. I was showing it, like, I remember back in LFAB, I was showing it to Brian, I was showing it to Neve, and I was just like so excited, like tuning into SmackDown because I wanted to see the new Bray Wyatt Firefly Funhouse bit. You know, he brought in all these characters like Huskus the Pig Boy, calling back to Husky Harris. There was like the Witch, there was the Vulture, there was Rambling Rabbit, this rabbit who he would just kill every episode, and it was so creative and brilliant. There was the Workout Boy music video, which is a music video about Vince McMahon telling Bray Wyatt to get in better shape, and it was so just meta and brilliant and beautiful, and I fucking loved it so much. And then it's like, okay, how does a creepy children's TV show, how does that become a wrestling match? And the answer to that was The Fiend. Because The Fiend was this darkness inside Bray Wyatt. It's like nearly the Firefly Funhouse was him trying to become like commercial, was him trying to become like acceptable and something you could put on TV, but it wasn't working because he is dark and he is broken and he is fucked up. And The Fiend was the manifestation of that, and he had this horrifying mask, and he just looked like a complete nightmare. And I'll never forget that first match with Finn Balor where we saw The Fiend, and he comes out, and everything about how he moves, how he changes, how he speaks, it's all completely different, and he's hearing voices, and it was one of my favorite moments in wrestling. It's the kind of gimmick that you could have given it to 99 other wrestlers, and you would have had 99 other absolute fuck-ups. You would have had 99 other joke wrestlers, 99 other Knuckleball Schwartz or Phantasmo, or that time WWE made it so a wrestler's gimmick was that he was a robot from the moon, Max Laserbeam or so, I don't fucking remember. It was something, and it was captivating. It was just some of the most compelling ass art I've ever seen, and I deeply, deeply loved it. The Fiend, I felt like, I'm not going to say The Fiend had a bad run. I actually really enjoyed pretty much everything The Fiend did. I even enjoyed the awful Seth Rollins Hell in the Cell match. Oh boy, I just thought the giant hammer was fun, and I thought it was like a wrestling match turned into a horror film. I completely understand why other people did not enjoy it. But The Fiend's kind of going long, and it's still, even though like it's more successful now, even though it's working and it's great and it's brilliant, you're still feeling this shit where WWE is like pulling the rug out from under it sometimes. You have one of the most tragic incidents ever where Bill Goldberg beats The Fiend in like 5 seconds. Fuck Bill Goldberg.
Give it to Bill Goldberg. Bill Goldberg. Bill Goldberg.
Fuck you.
That's right, Brett. And like there was just different parts of that where like The Fiend never really feel like... The Fiend was never treated like The Undertaker. And I know people are going to say, well, Bray Wyatt was no Undertaker. To which I'd say, yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. That's it. And then eventually we got to this point where all of a sudden Bray Wyatt is released from WWE. Shocking. He hasn't been around in like a long time. People were speculating like there was a COVID-19 diagnosis, there was complications with his health, but then he was released, and it was the most bamboozled I have ever been about WWE as a company. It was like, wait, what are we doing? Why? Like, the merch sales from Bray Wyatt alone had to have been completely bananas. Why are we releasing him? Super strange. He gets brought back, and he brings back this new gimmick, Uncle Howdy. And we never really got to see where Uncle Howdy was going. I was intrigued, but it felt like the gimmick never... Something was off. Something felt strange. And Uncle Howdy as a gimmick only ever had one wrestling match, the Mountain Dew Lights Out wrestling match against LA Knight. The entire build was just very strange and just not great. And I thought there was some interesting stuff that match, but it just... There was the sense that we're trying something different here, but it's not 100%. And it was very strange. I was like, okay. And Bray Wyatt goes away after that. And then, August 2023, Bray Wyatt tragically passes away. And obviously, like, anyone going before their time is tragic. And I think, you know, I never liked the idea that a celebrity dying is necessarily more tragic than just any normal person of the same age dying. But yeah, as a wrestling fan, it was hard not to feel like Bray Wyatt had given us so much and was continuing to give. And it really hurt that we weren't going to see him anymore, that one of the most creative voices in all of wrestling was just snuffed out. And it was completely devastating. It was made more tragic by the fact that Luke Harper, one of the Wyatt family who had been doing killer shit in AEW, he also died. He died in his absolute prime. And it means the only member of the original Wyatt family left. I mean, you have Braun Strowman, but of that original three is Eric Rowan, who we will get to. And, you know, Bray Wyatt was left behind by a wife and a kid and a brother who is also a wrestler, Bo Dallas. And it was just the most heartbreaking thing. And then years later, or like a year later, apologies again, I'm confused on the time frame, we start getting these vignettes that something spooky is coming to wrestling. And it's like, oh shit, spooky wrestling for life. Yes. And we get this vignette on, I think, SmackDown, where the lights cut out and the entire WWE locker room is brutalized. And when I say brutalized, it looked like Chad Gable had been shot in the head. Okay? I'm pretty sure Chad Gable was shot in the head and died. But then he came back, so it's fine. And we got all these wrestlers in like these fucked up masks and these like just incredible costumes. And there was like Abigail the Witch, the puppet from the TV show, but now it's a person. There was Rambling Rabbit, but now it's a person. There was like now it's a full gimmick, a wrestler in full Rambling Rabbit costume. There's Huskus the Pig Boy, but now it's a person. And that old Firefly funhouse has been turned into an actual wrestling faction. Hook this shit to my fucking veins. And it's all headed by, you know, Bray Wyatt's real life brother. And he comes out and he gives this promo where he's talking about losing his brother. And he's talking about having to fulfill his brother's role. And the lights are low. And sometimes when the lights come back up, you can see Bray's face in Bo's face. And it's not special effects. It's real because they're brothers and this shit is real to this guy. And it's haunted and it's fucked up and it's genuine and it's authentic and it's this beautiful piece of storytelling. And in that moment, I was like, I could not think of a more incredible way to honor Bray Wyatt than this. This is incredible. I need to see where this story goes. And the story goes nowhere. You get a few little bits. The Wyatt Six, as they were known. You know, they took the tag titles. You got to see Nikki Cross do some of the best work of her entire career. I'm a huge Nikki Cross fan as well. I think that her superhero gimmick was severely underrated. I think that was a gimmick for little girls, and I think whatever can get little girls into wrestling is a fucking amazing thing. Yeah, I loved it all, and like I loved seeing Eric Rowan as a part of this faction because first of all, I think Eric Rowan is like a severely underrated wrestler. I think he's way better in ring than people give him credit for, and I think his creativity is actually like really he thinks about stuff and he understands like the tragedy of his own character. If you ever want like a very interesting watch, Eric Rowan did this entire bit where for months he carried around a cage, and it's like, what's in the cage? And you know, other wrestlers would see what's in the cage and they'd freak out and stuff, and then eventually it got revealed to be like a children's joke shop giant plastic spider. And I'm still fucking mad about it. I talked about it in the video. A spider, an actual fucking spider. Anyway, go watch Eric Rowan's idea for what was in the cage. I'm not gonna say it maybe wasn't a little potentially problematic, but I thought there was a really beautiful part to his idea. I'm not even going to say what it is. You can go look at it. And now that's kind of all over. You know, like this beautiful tribute to Bray, this faction with genuinely so much passion, real life passion and energy and tragedy behind them. They're gone now because I feel like genuine creativity, genuine storytelling, something that has not been seen before, I don't know that can exist in WWE anymore. And that's not a slight to the WWE wrestlers. Obviously, I love so many wrestlers within WWE and I have so much respect for what they do. But it's like, it feels like Vince is back, and it feels like this kind of shit just can't exist anymore. Strange and special and beautiful things cannot exist in that promotion, and it makes me so sad. And look, here's what I'll say. AEW has a chance here. AEW has a chance to do something real and heartfelt and brilliant. And there is like, apparently Tony Khan is also quite cool. Like, he doesn't really like spooky wrestling. But like, look at what Leo Rush is doing right now. Leo Rush is like this combination of a Black Mankind mixed with Golem from Lord of the Rings right now. And I'm kind of fucking into it. I'm enjoying it. And so I really hope that the members of the Wyatt Six, like Dexter Lumis, Joe Gacy, Bo Dallas, like, I hope all those guys like land on their feet, and like I hope that they keep going, especially Eric Rowan, because I really, fuck dude, you're so close. It's there, you know, it's fucking there. And it's frustrating, and it just continues to echo my frustration with WWE as a promotion. But maybe the answer there is I just need to be paying more attention to AEW. You know, like I recently watched Dynamite, and I watched Darby Allin versus Tommaso Ciampa, and that is my first 5-star match of the year. Granted, I haven't watched MJF versus Adam Page yet, and people are saying that that's an absolute banger. But yeah, so continues my conflicted feelings about pro wrestling and WWE. But there is a lot of good shit out there, and I just wanted to just pour one out for the Wyatt Six, because I genuinely loved that faction, and I feel like the only reason that faction didn't work is because the booking around it was terrible. The individuals involved were fucking incredible, and I just want to salute those guys. That's it. Okay, talk to you next time.